So sadly, this was our last full day there. This was Saturday morning. Of course, I was the first one up. Friday was the night, well, mostly kind of day night that we got all the snow. So I was just up enjoying some coffee outside, well, in the patio thing, watching some Breaking Bad, just really kind of enjoying the views. And we did a little bit of stuff today. We went to Trader Joe's, but I just wanted to get some footage. I just loved how it looked outside. Almost looked like mountains in the background, but those were clouds.
It is awesome. And he's filming in here, and no, you can't film him. My cousin goes,
Is it air?
wait, isn't saffron or something like super expensive?
Must
It
be.
is. That's why.
How was it?
I think it was great. 10 out of 10.
Nah. That was a once in a lifetime.
Maybe a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, all these.
It literally.
With all these, but more fat. Okay. So, we got strawberries, birthday cake, some turtles, some caramel turtles, sprinkles, graham cracker crust, and Oreo bits. Frank got a little bit of everything. Caroline, what did you get? Cherries and cheesesteak bites, I think. Cherries, cheesesteak bites, birthday cake, and
This light is crazy. We were gonna go out until it started getting windy and rainy. That was sketchy. Dang, it'd be so cool. Did they really just straight up leave?
Yeah, they do.
Damn. Let's flip that paddle boat around though, upside down. That's how it was when we came here. All right, it is our last day here. Well, last night, last day was today. It's been awesome. Honestly, overall, like there's a few little quirks that were annoying, but overall, it's been a blast. We're all getting in the hot tub. Well, Jake, his girlfriend, and Caleb are at the movies right now. I'm trying to find my bathing suit. I don't know what the heck I did with it. But yeah, so it's been super fun. Today we kind of spent most of the day gone, which kind of sucked. I'm more of like I guess, I don't know, it depends on where we're at. Like something like this, I think mostly because I've been working so much, I kind of want to just like chill here and relax. I'm like, we did pay for this place, let's be here as much as possible, but still a blast. So I had to go, but super excited to see the dogs. I can't wait. So tomorrow is Sunday, which obviously we're off work, but then Monday we go back, and I'm like, kind of want to call off. I don't know. We'll see. So this was on our trip home. This isn't far from where we live. We were dropping Carol off, and on the other side, you know, obviously we were going the other way on the highway to drop her off. We noticed there were all kinds of little fires over here, and it was weird because the day before we had just got all that rain and snow, and here's an accident because people were gawking. But on our way back, as you can see, they had, you know, the fire trucks out and whatnot and got them out. But the next day after this, there were more fires about a mile back, which was crazy. I've never seen stuff like this before. We usually don't have these, like, you know, brush fires and stuff like that around here in Michigan, at least. Well, at least in our area. All right, guys, so the trip is over and we're back home. Obviously, as you saw in my last clip, I was making videos, you know, adding clips from home. This is the part where I kind of didn't want to make it, you know, because I'm like, you know, if you weren't there, you'd probably be like, oh, you're just being over dramatic or something like that. But let me put it like this. So I was going to make a whole video on like things we disliked about the place. Just, I don't know, not really like to like trash talk it per se, but just, you know, it's always like interesting to see, you know, you always see like the good side of stuff on video and Instagram and stuff like that. So, you know, it'd be cool to kind of show like, you know, what you don't show on video or whatever. And I feel like I'm making it so much seem more dramatic than it is. It's really not. Just nitpicking, basically, I guess. So I wasn't going to make this until we decided at the end of our trip. We're like, we loved this place. We want to go back. Like, normally in June for our, like, anniversary, we go to Florida. And, of course, we wanted to go this year. But we've been looking at flight prices, and it's outrageous. We're like, you know what? I would literally love to come back here in June instead. You know, then we're 2 hours away. It's going to be much, much cheaper. And, you know, we've been here before. We love it. You know, why not come back? Plus, with having that lake and the kayaks and the paddle boat and stuff like that, like, heck yeah, that would be bomb in the summer. You know what I mean? Be out there swimming. There was a fire pit out there by the water. We could grill out. I'm like, we wouldn't even be in the house. We'd be out here all day. So we looked it up. Unfortunately, the dates we want to go, they are booked up for most of the days. So we're like, well, you know, I could shift my vacation around depending on if there's open spots. So let's see if there's, you know, like a solid week. We paid about $217 a night. And, you know, obviously we bring a group there. We all split it. So the cost, you know, is very reasonable. $217 a night, and that's before like their stupid Airbnb fees and cleaning fees and these fees and those fees and, you know, being alive fees and fees for the fees. So I want to say it was probably about $250 a night once we broke it down between everybody, or like, yeah, $250, or it's like $250 a person, something like that. But on the Airbnb listing, before all the fees and stuff, it's $217 a night. When we clicked into June, July-ish, I even went as far as like September, because it's still hot outside in September. The price more than tripled. I'm talking some of the days were over $700 per night before the fees. Before they tack on the cleaning fee and the this fee and that fee and all that. And I'm like, a night? Where we just stayed, $700 a night, $600 a night, $500 a night, $300 a night? $300, in my eyes, should be the absolute maximum. And I'm going to show you why. So unfortunately, I didn't get any clips of the other bedrooms, but here's our main bedroom with, you know, the bathroom in it. We kind of missing the TV there. Now here we are downstairs in what's kind of advertised as like the game room kind of lounge. Pretty cool. We enjoyed it, but what are we missing down there? You see there's speakers everywhere. There's a spot for a TV, but there's no TV. And then here's another spot for a TV, kind of like a living room area downstairs with no TV. And there's definitely been one there before, but not now. Then we can head over to the pool table, which has this awesome light above it, but it doesn't work. There's no switches to turn it on. The bulbs don't seem to be burnt out, but there's a lot of burnt out bulbs in this house, which I'll get to later. Couldn't figure out a way to turn it on, so unfortunately you have to have the 20 ceiling lights on to be able to play pool, which kind of sucked because it would have been cool at night to have them off a little bit. So next complaint about the basement, it was freezing. It stayed at about 50 degrees down there, which really isn't enjoyable. So they had all these little space heaters around, which should do the trick, but almost every single outlet down there did not work. And then they had a pellet stove. I'll get to that. But you want the convenience of these space heaters. This is the only one that worked. And as you can see, with this thing blasting for, I mean, it stayed on the entire time. The warmest we could get it was to the low 60s during the day when the sun was out. So, in my first video, if you remember when I walk in the house, I mentioned that there's a weird kind of musty smell. That was actually this pellet stove. So there's absolutely nothing telling you how to use this thing. As you can see, there's kind of a mess all over behind the wall. There's some pellets on the ground. There is a little control panel here which controls everything. And this is basically the only way to like solidly heat the basement, even though there's plenty of registers in the walls and ceilings that are supposedly connected to the furnace. So after some Googling and YouTube videos, I figured out how to get this thing to work, which isn't hard, but also you gotta think this thing is literally burning wood. So you might want to kind of, in my eyes, leave like a guide or something, because there's also a flue that you have to adjust. This thing is the reason the entire house has kind of just a smoked out smell to it. This thing, if you don't operate it correctly, and it's really hard to open this door, if you don't operate it correctly, will literally just fill the house with smoke. And that's what it did essentially when we first got there. Not smoke in a sense of like you can't see or anything like that, but just enough to where like you really strongly smell it. And I didn't like that. This is definitely something that I wouldn't have in an Airbnb rental type house, unless it was like fully automated and kind of just like an on-off foolproof type thing. So that's, I guess, user error. You know, I can't really complain about it, but this was really the only way to heat the basement if you wanted it to actually be comfortable down there. Because once it gets going, it puts out a lot of good heat, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily fill the room with smoke, and that smoke goes everywhere. Here's a fun one. The main upstairs toilet did not flush. There was no chain attached to the thing, so one of the 3 bathrooms was completely unusable, and that was a main one by all the bedrooms. And then here's the main couch in the living room, which in my opinion was a little bit small, but we sat down and a couple of us felt like we broke our back because this beam of wood, like the whole couch is kind of like, I don't know if it's assembled wrong or broken, but if you sit on that whole left side, you have essentially like no back support, and you sink down and your back slams into that like piece of exposed wood. So that really sucked. These things were pretty cool. They were awesome, but like really impractical unless you were just kind of like laying down to take a nap. But you had this big living room with just this one little couch, unfortunately. So continuing on to kind of nitpick a little bit, this was right next to the living room. They had the foosball table up here, and that's it. This was a giant room. It would have been cool to have like some more couches maybe, or even like another TV setup. You could, as an Airbnb, you could definitely set up like a sweet like home theater right there, you know, maybe raise the price a little bit. A lot of possibilities. So this is the front door, obviously like the main entryway, and the way these work is they give you a code when you get there, and you don't actually meet anybody, you don't get a key, but there's a little keypad and they give you a code, you type in the code, and that's how you get in the house. It unlocks the door so you don't have to have like a key, worry about losing it or whatever. Ours didn't work. They said the keyless thing did not work, so we had to have a code for the garage, and we had to go in and out of there every time to get in and out of the house. Minor, but still. And this house had so many doors that had keypads and locks that you couldn't get into. It was crazy. And one of the issues, I think, with the space heaters downstairs was a breaker was blown, and there's no way to access it. There's no way for us to just pop the circuit panel open and reset it, unfortunately. I'm thinking that's why most of the outlets didn't work, and then most of the lights on the other side of the basement stopped working. But unfortunately, there's nothing we could do about it. But yeah, there's like 6 or 7 doors that were just locked, and inaccessible, which is kind of creepy, but you know, it is what it is. That's just nitpicking. So what I genuinely think, and what I'm going to show you now, is just like a bunch of weird little poor construction bits. I genuinely think, after looking at this house on Zillow, because I'm weird like that, I was just curious what it would sell for, or, you know, retail, or, you know, what it would cost to live there. I just noticed all these, like, quick repairs, you know, bad paint jobs, missing, you know, like door strikers and stuff like that. A lot of minor stuff, no big deal, but still there. You know, think of being charged $800 something a night. But then there was this whole little like kitchen area that was in the basement. I'm not really sure what was going on here. This bar was like a standing bar. This was like up to my chest. It was filthy, you know, horrible paint job, as you can see. They had these speakers all over that weren't hooked up. These lights. So these lights did work before we tried to turn one of the space heaters on, and then it, you know, popped one of the breakers. But this fridge with a giant lock on it, like another stove and microwave down there. Patches in the wall, as you can see. The countertop was pretty rough, and then this whole ceiling was like poorly patched up. And I don't know, like, you can see my house. We're always doing work on it. You know, there's always projects going, so I get it. I'm totally not knocking that. But I feel like renting a house, and there was a lot of stuff kind of left all over too. But I feel like when you're renting a house, you, especially, you know, at the prices that they're charging in the summertime, it should be in like tip-top shape, you know what I mean? Like fully ready to go, or at least disclose, say, hey, we are working on it right now. Just a heads up, you know, there's a little bit of construction going on, but it's minor, you know, it'll be out of your way. But it wasn't. And then so many like just loose doorknobs and latches, and these doors didn't fit well. To open this door, you had to yank like hell. This was one of the like the enclosed sunrooms. You can see how hard I'm pulling to get it open. And then the better part, I did love the view though, for sure, for real. And I'll talk about these stairs too. So this is a clip from my first video of when I was showing the place. Just listen to these steps. I complained a little bit yesterday because, you know, they definitely make it look like top notch in the pictures. And, you know, I felt like I was going to break through those things every time I stepped down. But then here's another door, a sliding door on the deck that doesn't even lock. There's no lock on the screen. I couldn't get it closed because of the snow, but there's also no lock on this door. And I thought maybe it latches at the top and bottom. Nope. There is no lock, period. So that's sketchy. And then they had these signs taped all over. You can pause it if you want to read it. It's really no big deal. But everything, like, kind of tells you, like, refer to this document, refer to that document, check out this paperwork. There was no paperwork left. And then we get to the hot tub. This was almost the biggest letdown for me. So I've had a hot tub before growing up, so I know how it kind of works. You put like the bromine tablets in here. This was empty when we got here. There was none in it. It was floating around, but I took it out. And then if you look at the top here, normally you just flip it over, and then this thing will just kind of help you support it. This thing was broken completely, not even attached to the hot tub. So you had to have two decently strong people to kind of flip this thing over and get it off. And then when you opened it, the water was so murky and cloudy. And it's hard to tell on camera. Like, it genuinely doesn't look that bad on camera. But this water needed to be, I don't know if chemicals would save it. It needed to be drained out, refilled, and, you know, fresh chemicals, clean the filter. It was rough. And multiple times, like I said in the last video, the hot tub was having an issue keeping temperature, and I ended up figuring out that was because the water was low, so I did add some, and that fixed it. But still, we did mention that, and she said, oh, the water looks fine to us. It's well water, so it looks different. The hot tub I had, we had well water at the time, and that water was crystal clear. Alright, so with all that being said, I didn't want to make this video at first because I was like, I feel like I'm just crapping on the place. And like I said, we're no strangers to being in the middle of constructions and remodels and stuff like that. But we're not renting our house out as a vacation home. One thing that I did want to mention that I didn't really get a clip of, so I'll just put maybe like an overlay here of like my drone footage. In the Airbnb ad, the way they kind of show the pictures, and I guess it's, I don't know, I don't want to say like false advertising, but the way they show the pictures is they take pictures from the lake where you can see the little cabana thing or whatever you call it, and the kayaks and this beautiful water. And then the next picture is like the back of the house, and they're taking a picture of the house where you see the fire pit, the chairs, you know, the hot tub, the big tall deck. So it puts you in this perception that the water is right back behind the house. Because one thing we want to do, we're like, oh my God, you know, it'd be fun. Let's get in the hot tub, we'll get really hot, and then we'll run out in the water where it's, you know, ice cold, and, you know, just be stupid, you know? And then get back in the hot tub, you know, just shock your system or whatever. Just like a polar plunge, I guess. But in reality, the lake was quite a few hundred feet behind the house, and it was like marsh. To get to the lake, like to get to your private, you know, beach access or whatever they call it, I think they refer to the house as lakefront with your own private beach or something like that. You actually have to walk. They say you can drive, but I mean, we were walking on like pure mush. Jake's Explorer is all-wheel drive. I don't think it would have made it. Shelby's car is front-wheel drive. I think that car would have sunk right down. So as for driving back there, I don't think so. Also, there was all kinds of like big branches and trees and stuff like that in the way. Not really in the way, but definitely some big branches you would have to drive over. But the weirdest part of it, like aside from how far it was from the house, like it was a good probably 7 or 8 minute walk. You were basically walking in another house's like side yard. Like it was from me to like this back wall away, another house, and you're walking like what feels like through their yard, which was really sketchy, especially when we went through there at night. You know, like I was like, let's just keep our flashlights off, walk through here in the dark, hopefully no one sees. But yeah, so I didn't really like that. I mean, it's no big deal, but you know, don't advertise that like the lake is like in your backyard, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't something where I would have felt comfortable just walking out in the backyard by myself and going swimming. You can't do that because it's just like a swampy marsh. You have to walk to your actual dock, and even still, it wasn't really like a sandy beach. It was like a mucky kind of thing, and there was some steps that maybe went off the dock into the water, but they were like flipped over and very far away, so you didn't really have access. But yeah, just like minor stuff though, like nothing really like deal breaking. Just some things I would change. Like what I was thinking though is it seems like I was looking at Zillow, and Zillow tells you like, you know, like when it was sold or when it was listed and, you know, stuff like that. I'm kind of getting the vibe of that they tried to sell it for $800,000, a little over $800,000, which holy crap. They had it was listed at one time for like $825 or something like that, and then it dropped to like $799, and then it said the listing was removed. It didn't say sold, it said it was removed. So I think what the owners did was they probably lived there, tried to sell it, it didn't sell, and then they decided to make it like an Airbnb, which phenomenal idea. It's, again, we love the place. But I also think that they're doing the work themselves in the house, and I think they just need to be like, they need to disclose it a little, they need to do a little bit better work. Like some of the stuff, like I said, the door handles being loose, the one door not locking, you know, the poor paint job on the ceiling, the trim that was kind of like falling off. You know, spend a little bit, you know, more time doing the work, but also just disclose that, you know, just be like, hey, we are making upgrades to this home, you know, this area's got a little construction going, stuff like that, because having that whole extra kitchen in the downstairs, like that would be like another huge feature, you know, that you could really boast about. But none of that stuff was done, and the way that fridge was locked was creepy. I didn't like that. But also though, like, you know, the issues, kind of big issues, you know, one of the main toilets didn't work, couldn't flush it. Downstairs, like I said, it was like 50 degrees on a warm day, so you had to have the space heaters going, but only one worked because all the outlets did not work. There was like 2 of like probably 15 outlets down there that worked. And then when I found another outlet that worked, apparently it was on the same one as the pellet stove, because I had the pellet stove going, which I don't think takes much energy. But when I turned that little space heater on, it clicked the breaker, and then that whole kind of other area also didn't have any more working outlets. So that sucked, but you know, kind of minor, you know, when you're drinking and partying. Basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is, luckily I brought my projector. Luckily I brought my big Bluetooth speaker, and luckily we had, you know, plenty of stuff with us that was entertaining to do too, because there was like no way that you would have been able to play music or anything like that. All of those speakers and wires came out behind the couch in the basement, and they were just hanging out of the wall. So maybe by summertime they'll have, you know, a TV down there again, and in the ad you can see in the house, and they do have TVs in there. So that was kind of crappy, but you know, my projector came in super handy. But overall, like, genuinely, we loved it. We had a blast. It was so fun. The neighbors are far away, you know, so if you're a little bit loud, it's really no big deal. We would definitely go again, but I wouldn't pay more than $300 a night in the summer. You know, 200-ish in the winter when the water's kind of not inaccessible, but too cold to be out on. That's fair to me. But yeah, some of those, like, I think in the one clip I showed you guys, it was like $875 a night in like September. What? Like, no. Are you kidding me? Over 1,600, and that's before the fees. So you're probably paying about like a little over $900 a night for that. Like, nope. Even if that house was in perfect condition, there was 50 million TVs, the basement was warm, and the hot tub was brand new, not paying $900. That's crazy. But all right, guys, appreciate you guys watching. We had a blast. And by the way, a few people commented and, you know, messages and stuff like that. We were originally going, because people were talking about Tennessee. Where in Tennessee was this? This was in Michigan. So pretend this is Michigan. We live like kind of down here, you know, just like above Toledo in Ohio. It was like straight west. Like, we got up on the highway a few minutes and then just went straight west. And it was called Vicksburg. It was kind of like right outside of like Kalamazoo. And the town was really like nothing special. It was, you know, just kind of like country-ish. Not a lot of stores, but it was nice having stuff, you know, within about a 10-15 minute drive though. But we just went for the house. Excuse me, it wasn't for the area. You know, like you go to like Orlando or something like that, you're there for the area. There's a million things to do. We were here for the house, and don't regret it at all. But yeah, just wanted to make a video. I thought it'd be kind of fun, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.